Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, and this is Raw from Nashville, Tennessee, where our main headline is just keep pulverizing with new tricks. But we'll get to that in a moment. So let's start with the first match and just keep looking like contenders as both Liv and Raquel and Io and Dakota put on a show, with Io eventually winning a back and forth with Liv for an over the moonsault to get the win. So that means Damage Control is the ones, and Io had a nice flurry with a double suicide dive, a missile dropkick, and a bullet train, and later Dakota cleared out Raquel with a Dakota kick, but in the end, it was Io who got the best of Liv, so Kai and Sky suddenly go to 2-0 in 2025. And that means the Judgment Day are the twos, and they had a couple impressive team moves, including an assisted codebreaker off of the top rope, and we also had Raquel swinging Liv around like a baseball bat to knock down both Damage Control members, and then Raquel powerbombed Liv onto Io, and even after Liv was bloodied, she was still able to hit an Oblivion on Dakota, but Io broke it up and eventually won that final showdown, and Liv later noted that they have a guaranteed title shot in the future, but for today they dropped a 1-1 in traditional tags. This was an incredible effort by everyone involved and a great start to Raw, so it gets a double okay. Up next, we just keep putting out the fire as Bayley craftily reverses Lyra's magistral cradle by grabbing her leg mid-move to pin her shoulders to the mat and advance to the Elimination Chamber. And that means Bayley is the ones, as the two competitors fought to a 50-50 draw for several minutes as they felt each other out. Bayley was able to hit a Bayley to belly, and she also ended up having too many tricks for the rookies, so she gets her first win on the Raw roster and is just 1-2 in one-on-one matches. And that means Lyra is the twos, and she looked every bit worthy of being the women's IC champion, and she landed a couple tornado DDTs and fisherman suplexes, and she also had a nice leg drop between the ropes. But even after countering a rose plant into that pinning attempt, well, Bayley got the best of her, so she drops to 1-1 in one-on-one matches. But Ivy Nile and American Made caught up with Lyra later as she was talking to the Alpha Academy, with Ivy saying that she immediately fell on her face and that she will see Lyra soon. Well, this was a great effort, and we certainly hope to see this one again, so it gets an okay. Up next, we just keep failing the master as Julius Creed stupidly grabs the title belt to stop a War Machine, and that cost them their title shot with a DQ. So the War Raiders are the ones, and they were mostly dominant in this performance, whether solo or as a team, as Eric had a nice German suplex and Uranagi combo, and then Ivar had a Bronco Buster and a sit-out powerbomb. And while we would have been happier to see the War Raiders complete the War Machine, this was still a successful title defense for them and their second in 2 weeks, so they are 2-0 in traditional tags, and that means American Made are the twos, and they had finally found an opening with an Olympic slam by Brutus, and then Julius followed up with a superplex, and then Brutus had a moonsault. But this was broken up by Eric, and then things fell apart for them. And so we will give Julius a "What were you thinking?" Because instead of just stopping the War Machine like a normal person, you took extra time to go run by ringside and grab that title belt and then use it to hit Ivar with it, which obviously caused a DQ. And I just don't know why you would go the extra effort and get yourself DQ'd when who knows when you'll get your next title shot. And clearly this meant that you defied Master Gable's orders to win those titles while he's gone. And so, with this being your first match in 2.5 months, you completely wasted this golden opportunity, and they fall to 0-1 in traditional tags. And not only does this get them a DQ, it is also an attack with the title belt, so Julius will get a 1-week suspension, but then Brutus joined in the beatdown after the match, so he will get a fine for himself, and then the Creeds stood tall while holding the titles but of course not as champions. So what a dumb, ruinous way to end a pretty good effort here, so we have no choice but to give this a double not okay. And in our main headline and main event, we just keep pulverizing with new tricks because Logan Paul lands his titanium reinforced big right and then pulls out a new finisher, which Pat McAfee calls the pulverizer, so he advances to the Elimination Chamber. So Logan Paul is indeed the ones, and in addition to the pulverizer, he has the move of the night with an incredible moonsault and battery off of the top rope, so he gets his first win since WrestleMania last year, and that stops a 4-match losing streak, and he is 1-0 in one-on-one matches, and that means Rey Mysterio is the 2s, and he had a couple nice moves with a Hurricane Rana nailing Paul off of the steel steps, then a Tornado DDT, and also a 619, but when he went to drop the dime, Paul got his knees up, so that led to a bad ending for Rey, and he drops to 2-2 in one-on-one matches, but I will give the Hall of Famer his props for leading all men on the Raw roster with 6 matches so far in 2025. And then after the match, both New Day members attacked Rey while he was still on the mat, and we don't know how far this attack went because the show went right off the air, so for now we can only give them fines. And this match had a bit of a slow start as they also had to feel each other out, but it had a pretty great middle and an end with some incredible moves, so we will give it an okay. And with that, let's go beyond the mat for Raw as Jey Uso again opened the show and Jey again restarted his music. So we again had over 7 minutes of Jey and everyone else yeeting to open the show, but fortunately we were heroically saved by Gunther this time as he attacked Jey while yeeting on top of the announce table, and we will have to give Gunther a fine for that attack, but it is worth it for everyone's sanity because Gunther then followed that up with a powerbomb in the middle of the ring, and he told Jey not to pick him for WrestleMania. So Gunther left after some WWE officials came down, but he changed his mind before leaving the ring completely and pushed a couple officials, so we have to give him a 2-week suspension for laying hands on those officials. And then after another powerbomb, Jey then grabbed the mic and announced that he would indeed face Gunther at WrestleMania, which of course angered Gunther quite a lot because he knows he has nothing to gain and everything to lose from facing Jey at WrestleMania. So Gunther ran down the ramp, and unfortunately for him, Jey was ready as he knocked him off of the apron and then flipped to the outside, knocking down both Gunther and a bunch of officials. So Jey did earn this right to pick his poison here, but it looks like it's not going to be pretty for him for several weeks leading up to that match. So thank you, Gunther, for saving us from another 5 minutes of yeeting. That still isn't enough to overcome the 7+ minutes that we did get, so we'll give it a not okay. Io Sky interrupted Rhea Ripley's interview with Kathy Kelly, with Io again complaining about Rhea costing her a chance at WrestleMania, and then apparently that worked because Rhea then came up and found Io later in the show, and she said that she went to Pierce and got those two to have a title match, which weirdly enough will be in 3 weeks on the Raw after Elimination Chamber, when we currently have a card of 2 matches, so you would think that match would be worthy of being on the Elimination Chamber card, but what do I know? More than Adam Pearce, that's for sure, but it is certainly a match that we deserve to get, so we'll give it an okay. AJ Styles came back and he unfortunately did not announce his retirement, though he admitted that he thought it was over after that last injury. However, he said he thinks he still has gas in the tank, and of course, he thinks incorrectly, because that is wrong. Anyways, Dominic Mysterio and Carlito interrupted him, saying that the Judgment Day runs Raw, but Styles disagreed, saying that he does not see Damian Priest, does not see Rhea Ripley, and didn't even see Finn Balor with them, and called Dom a punk, which caused Dom to swing at Styles. However, Styles caught it and turned it around, and eventually he stopped the 619 and landed a phenomenal forearm on Carlito to clear the ring. And even though Dom and Carlito embarrassed themselves yet again, they are the ones that get the fine for instigating. And since we didn't get that retirement announcement that we desperately need, this gets a double not okay. Styles then asked Pierce for a match next week against Dom, and he granted it and walked away. And then Braun Breaker showed up for a very long stare down until he said he'll see him soon. But this is a complete fail by Breaker to come up to Styles just 1 week after telling Pierce to keep Styles away from him. So that deserves a "what were you thinking?" to Breaker, because you just did an absolutely terrible job of staying away from Styles, so I don't know why you would do that. And that means we have to give it a double not okay. Jackie Redmond interviewed Seth Rollins about the Elimination Chamber, but it was interrupted by Finn Balor saying that he was seeing the downfall of Rollins and that he was falling apart. But Rollins retorted by saying that Balor is standing in his way, and after next week, Balor won't stand at all. However, this was pretty much a waste of time, so it gets a not okay. Balor then came into the Judgment Day clubhouse and said that they should have listened to him to get the win. Liv then suggested that they get a new member with McDonough on the shelf, but Balor says no, and that he'll fix everything by winning next week and then winning the title at WrestleMania. But dude, come on now. We know you never win anything, so I don't think anyone believes you at this point, so that too will get a not okay. And lastly, CM Punk says his WrestleMania goal is still there, and he will stab Rhodes in the front because now that Jey has selected, he has to. He also said he's not upset about Cena calling his shot because he is a legend, and then he also name-dropped some other possible Elimination Challenger opponents, but he did not mention Logan Paul, who interrupted him, saying that he's got Punk's number at the Rumble and will do so again inside the chamber. And I guess since he did end up winning, we will get to see if that is the case. But on this show, there is just so much talking and so few matches, so even these two get a not okay. And with being on the road to WrestleMania, we got some very good in-ring performances, just not enough of them like again, just like you will not get enough of me because that stupid idiot SportsZu canceled the OK question of the week until you start asking some questions, so get on that ASAP, you stupid idiots. But if you missed the SportsZu being a stupid idiot with his terrible Royal Rumble predictions, go right on over here and check them out because I am contractually obligated to say that. But if you don't, and until this show becomes less talk and more action, it gets a not okay.